the nurture aspect and people's opinions, you understand that sexuality is fluid, and the idea that someone else may influence your sexuality is by and large kind of ridiculous. I think at some point in time it comes out, honey. Okay. But that was all, and it was a weird situation. I don't know, y'all. Like, oh my God. Oh, we weave when first we practice to deceive. Does anybody know that? Am I the only person who knows these like old sayings? Yes. Haven't we been in a tangled web all week, honey? Bitch. You know, shout out to the Jamaicans. Like, I people who are from other countries really just relish in the idea of letting people know that they are not from here, especially Caribbean people. And I mean all West Indian people, whether you're of Latin descent or you are of African, from the African diaspora, which technically speaking we all are. But y'all motherfuckers love driving around with your flags just hanging from your goddamn center mirror, don't you? I love that shit. I didn't know that it is actually illegal in most states for you to be hanging anything from that middle mirror. I got a ticket once, driving back, and it was only because he didn't want to give me a speeding ticket. So he said, listen, I'm going to give you a ticket for something. So I'm going to give you a ticket for this shit hanging from your mirror. And I thought to myself, wait, you could get a ticket for that? Yeah, you can. If the cops want to be dicks. Mm. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the nonsense, why don't we? All right, so Monday started off with a bang this week where 50 Cent and Lil Wayne, on Lil Wayne's Lil Tunechi uh, Apple radio show for Beats Radio, they got into a discussion. Now, I don't normally watch Tunechi Radio. I'm not interested. I think, did you guys ever see the epic read that Kaya did for Lil Wayne? I read it and I laughed, or I watched it and I laughed because I thought to myself, like, God, she's so like visceral. You know what I mean? But after Monday's events of seeing him with 50 Cent, I thought, God, well deserved and just, if you will. So it turns out that Lil Wayne and 50 Cent decided to take Monday to ride the colonial horse of colorism right off into the sunset, and they were rather successful. Now, if you did not see this clip circulating at the beginning of the week, this came off of a very bizarre weekend where we had Terry Crews as well as Kanye West, both kind of exhibiting some rather loud and bizarre behavior. And so here comes Lil Wayne and 50 Cent to wax poetic on a subject that, quite frankly, unless you've been under a rock and you've been dead, the visualization that rappers and hip hop artists have long given us is their preference for, what they deem as exotic women. And I was not surprised, but rather disappointed to hear them talk about how they, not that they, I wasn't disappointed in hearing 50 Cent talk about his preference for lighter skinned, or what he deemed exotic women. Women that you don't find around the way is what he said. These aren't your average women. He went on to say that this preference of his actually angers Black women, and got them all up in arms and being angry and being just nasty and visceral, to which 50 then kind of did this kind of boxing motion, like, oh, shut the fuck up, with the boxing motion. Now, here's the thing for me, right? This again is not a surprise that these men, because this is the image that I've gotten from male dominated hip hop for most of my life. You know, I am a woman of a certain age, and to be honest with you, it is very rare to see a male hip hop artist take the attempt to glamorize Black beauty in all its many 31 flavors, to choose anything that is beyond the gradient of the paper bag, you know, to choose anything that is beyond the gradient of a 3B, 3C quality texture of hair, you know, and that's fine. That's your preference. Now, your preference is one thing. The fact that you are operating on this large scale platform where the world is looking at you, and in Lil Wayne's case, his Black daughter, Ray Janae. Now, the internet took it upon themselves to, you know, do a sister circle around Ray Janae and really uplift her, which I thought was a really great thing. But let's be honest, Lil Wayne he wasn't talking about Ray Janae, you know? He wasn't talking about any of these Black women, especially not Ray Janae. Now, number one, most people who have kids see their kids as an extension of them. Their ego does not allow them to see their kids oftentimes as individuals who are separate from them. So most people see, which gives you, you know, kind of the pronouns to work with. That is my kid. Ownership being on mine. My kid is an extension of me. I get to right the wrongs of my own childhood through this person. I get to, you know, kind of the issues that I have, the issues of my heart that I have, I get to kind of change them through my kid. So please understand that it's not that I feel like we shouldn't feel bad for Ray Janae, but I don't think that 50 Cent and Lil Wayne were sitting there talking about little chocolate gumdrop, tiny Ray Janae. They were talking about us, bitch. Okay, and we went over this last week, you know, like they were talking about us, which is fine. That's fine. I think the problem is to put the stigma. You can have your preference. Your preference should not mean that you have to demoralize and put down Black women because you have a preference. Take your fucking ass and go be with your preference, nigga. Now, here's the irony of 50 Cent talking about Black women being angry. No more than 24 hours later does a clip surface of 50 Cent having what appears to be a very angry and volatile situation at an Edgewater hookah slash food bar. Now, you're thinking to yourself, hookah and food, what could go wrong? Well, something went wrong because in the clip it showed 50 Cent being very angry, very violent, very angry, very. Almost the same kind of violence that he was putting on. Now, let me tell you something about God, okay? Let's just pull over for a minute. Pull over, bitch. Pull over, okay? Let's talk a minute about God, and let's talk about how God uses these assholes to really, the irony, bitch. The Ron and your knee, bitch. The fact that 50 Cent would get in front of millions of people. I mean, you know, 50 Cent is not just a regular artist. He's not Fabio Foreign, bitch. Okay? He's not you know, your rock'em sock'em edition of hip hop artists. No, the white people like 50 Cent, okay? He was able to get himself a show on ABC, a prime time show. 50 Cent is out here, okay? White people love Lil Wayne. So now, what you are doing during a time where Black people are begging white people to see us, and here comes you two fucking bozos being a goddamn distraction, and also pulling our proverbial pants down in front of these folks. Now, it's not a secret to white people that their colonialism worked, and and that our people haven't been able to get under the strong ass thumb of colorism due to colonialism. Not a secret. I don't think that's a secret to most white people. I think that what is the secret is that black men actually feel this way about black women. This same stigma that we have to go and fight against every day. Do you know how hard it is? 50 fucking Cent and fucking little no shade, sorry, and Mr. Wayne. Do y'all know how hard it is for a black woman to get up every day and to not have to, and to have to fight against the stigma that before I even get through the door, I am angry. And you guys think that I have this fucking reputation. And here are black men virtually telling you that yes, that feeling that you have about black women is correct. And here we are to stand up in that. It's damning, y'all. It's damning. Put some space between your brain and your mouth. For once, think about, let your egocentrism set aside. And you know what was even more disappointing to me? It was more disappointing that I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, the Joe Budden podcast. And now I like the podcast because, it's very rare that you get the opportunity to hear black men speak candidly amongst each other in this particular way, and it is not something driven by alcohol or drugs, or it's not an induced state. You get to see them be vulnerable with each other. You get to hear them talk about political and social issues, and you get to hear them have fun. It is a very casual place. It almost feels like you are in the boys' locker room and you are just getting a taste of what they go through and what they talk about. And it's funny to me. And even though I oftentimes don't agree with a lot of the things that they say, a lot of times I even can find the humor in it because they're entitled. Now, the thing that struck me as odd is not once did they really go into this subject of what happened with Lil Wayne and 50 Cent. They've got 2 episodes for the week, and not once did they really dive into the fact that here's an opportunity for black men to now dispel the myth of the anger. And instead, they use that opportunity to, in my opinion, to kiss 50 Cent ass. Now, I get it. We all scared of 50. We're all scared of 50, okay? He's big. He's angry. He wields his power like an unleavened sword all over the place. We're all scared of that nigga. Okay? He's like a fucking mean giant. Okay? In the space of giants. But I think that what is more damning is that you didn't hold them to task for being a fucking distraction. Y'all could have kept this goddamn interview. Y'all could have kept the fucking interview. During a time where we are fighting to be seen. But we're going to get into that. I don't want to give a rest in peace because I feel like prayer moves mountains. And for the people who love Naya Rivera, I first fell in love with Naya Rivera when she played Gwendolyn, the love interest of Richie on Family Matters. And she was very young. I don't know if she was, what was she, 3 or 4 maybe? And she was adorable. Do you remember it was Valentine's Day? Remember that episode? Remember when she came over to give Richie the cupcake? I mean, Naya Rivera is a veteran in this acting game, and not just Black Hollywood, but Hollywood period. You'll also recall that she was at one point engaged to hip-hop act Big Sean. They were engaged, actually even attended Kim and Kanye's wedding together, if I'm not mistaken. Listen, it came to the news this week that Naya and her young I think 3 or 4 year old son went out to Lake Piru